Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Talk to Rami Show. This is Rami, your host. In the studio, I have Carlos Barrientos in his studio. He's an amazing entrepreneur and a great friend. And we're going to talk about the subject that I really, really love, spirituality and the human being and who we are as a person. And we're going to go through a lot with Carlos, but buckle up and listen. And as I always say, if you like this episode, please share it, comment it, because you never know. With you sharing this episode, you might help somebody. We all might help somebody, but let's get into it. Carlos, welcome, my friend.
Pleasure being here, man.
I am so happy you're sitting here and we're talking because we were chatting about this to do this podcast for a long time and actually talk about a lot of stuff that we talk off the camera. And it was so interesting for me actually to get to know you, number one. The second, your perspective of life and how you see life and being human. Tell me about how you started it, who you are, and your perspective. What is it? What is it about Carlos?
Interesting question. That's kind of the journey that I'm on at the moment. Who am I? Who am I? What am I doing here? What's my mission? What's my purpose? I think it all started from wanting to chase the entrepreneurship route, right? Not coming from anything, my parents being immigrants and wanting more out of ourselves. And obviously being born as American, the only more that we thrive for is money. We measure success with money. And although there's some things that I agree and disagree with. Money does bring you happiness. It unlocks a lot of things, the potential for a lot of things. But we forget about every other aspect in life, which means our happiness, the relationships, what we like to do and who we are. So instead we start identifying as what we're looking to pursue. In my case, I do real estate. But it got to a sense where real estate became my identity, and that's all I wanted to do. I woke up for real estate, and then you end up losing touch of life. What do you do outside of work, right? And although, we do try to pursue becoming, my goal is to become really wealthy in the sense of happiness, relationships, finding real fun things to do, but also money, right? I do plan on becoming a billionaire by creating products, not just through real estate. So it's like, how do you balance all of these things out? Now, from all of those experiences, it has pushed me to ask myself, I'm sure we all go through those emotional roller coasters, but, is this something I really want to pursue? And what is the journey about? And it's all of those things, just questioning life once you hit rock bottom.
And you had the situation that you had the, rock bottom, right? I did it. I went through that. But, and you bounced back.
Yeah.
And you bounced back. You told me you bounced back. And, and the next thing is, as an immigrant, I am an immigrant like you. I told you my story. For us, I don't know. You were born here. I wasn't born here. But it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. Like for us that we're coming from the other side to this side, we have a different perspective because we have something here that we didn't have over there. What is your perspective? Do you appreciate for what you have right now? Or did you appreciate what you had before? And for now, that changed your perspective. Then said, okay, now I got all this stuff.
So let me kind of take it back to where I come from. My parents, they gave us what they could. We lived a good, decent life, right? Now, it's really lower income. My mom's cosmetologist. My dad worked in granite construction. So in 2002, I was in 2003, so I was in second grade. And my mom ended up getting cancer. We were living good. Life was good. Got a new house, got a new car. And then my mom got cancer. The crash came, and then we lost not lost, but my dad ended up taking all that stress, and then everything kind of started going downhill. So my mom was in the hospital, stage 4 cancer, for 3-4 years. She was a vegetable for about 7 years. So holidays, traditions, get-togethers, family, it wasn't there anymore. It kind of all died down. My dad had to make up for everything, so he stayed at work. So really we were being raised by my grandparents. Now, at the time, we did spend some time with my mom, with my dad, but everything, that's when life started getting a bit confusing, right? The whole crash, my mom in the hospital, my dad trying to make up for everything, and living with grandparents, it just started creating some confusion. So because of that, I'm going to say that's because of having a lot of free time. I have 2 older sisters, 4 years older, so I started hanging out with an older crowd. And this was in about 5th grade. That is when I started getting introduced to, smoking and drugs. So I got into the drug scene at an early age, and from there, my life kind of drifted away from everything, I guess, a childhood life, right? And through that, we didn't have much. I would say we didn't ever miss anything. We had a roof over our head. We had food, but we never did anything else aside from that, right? So I would say I was grateful until I started seeing those realities. Every time I would meet other people, they would always point out certain things about my life and our life, right? So there was certain issues with there were certain things in my life that I did that just forced me to start making money. So I went down the bad route, and that started making me appreciate every dollar. Okay, so as I got older, I got a job when I was in 7th grade. Started mowing lawns, cleaning pools, and everything. 8th grade, I worked at a restaurant, and then I started working at a warehouse. Right, so from there, I started valuing money, and because I was not able to ask my parents, because I saw what was really happening, that's when I started being very careful about how I was spending money. Excuse me. And as I got older, going down the drug route even deeper, I ended up overdosing, and I had a near-death situation or experience. From that moment, that is kind of where I started seeing things very differently. I started experiencing life with much more gratitude because I saw myself from a completely different realm. And what I mean by that is I saw my body, my spirit came out, I saw my body laying there. And that made me, I didn't know what was real or fake. Okay, and that's the best way to say it. I don't know if I died, I don't know what I experienced, but really there's no other way to say it, but I don't know what was real and what was fake, but I know that I started experiencing life at a much different level. Everything that I started doing made me question more things about life. Now, I couldn't talk about these things with anybody else because obviously they started labeling and like what the hell, what kind of drugs are you on? What are you smoking? And, I guess that comes from the Hispanic culture. Every time you talk about something that's completely different than their perspective, you get dismissed. So whatever, I kept that as that. And I always had that thought in the back of my head, what really happened? And then I experienced that again when I crashed on a bike. So I crashed on a bike. I went flying, I hit my head, I cracked my head, I got a concussion. In that moment, I really saw the whole time lapse of my body. My spirit came out and everything just blacked out and everything turned into a warp. I got to see the light at the end of the tunnel and I got to experience what life really meant. That moment really made me question because now I was sober. I wasn't on any drugs, but now it was okay, what is life? The reality of life when you're on drugs, you experience life completely different. When you're off drugs and then you die, Like that takes it to a completely different level. So ever since then, that's when I started seeing life completely different. I started being more aware of everything I did, what I said, how I appreciated things, being more grateful, having more gratitude, actually waking up with gratitude.
You know, first of all, thank you so much for sharing so much personal stuff, because that's going to help our audience and listeners to actually gain a great deal of knowledge about life, harsh realities that we all face, all of us. But yours, it was tough. And while we were talking, I put myself in that situation and said, okay, I'm 8 years old, I'm this, and my mom is dealing with that, cancer, and my dad is taking all the pain, and we still got to go through it. We still got to do the things every day we do. And as you always say, which is we talk, you are in the survival mode.
Yep.
You are surviving. And a lot of people are going through that right now as we speak right now. Alcohol, drugs, losing a loved one, front of their eyes or whatever. But one thing that would push us to go forward, for me, is always for the hope of the future and to be a better person and do great things for other people and lift other people up. What was it for you that exact time that you were in a young age and your mother is like that, and you see the bad things coming toward you, and you went toward the drug, you overdose, which is you kind of put that jacket on to hide behind this stuff, and you said, okay, enough is enough. Things is gonna happen. And what went to your mind? Like it says that I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna quit. Is it experience of near death experience, or was just you were tired of yourself, and he said, I'm done. I'm not gonna do it.
So I used drugs for quite a while.
Just for the pain,
I
for
don't
just
know.
covering things, or just for pleasure, or just getting high, because you do drugs, you get high, and you go to that stage. I call it in a temporary stage. You come out of it until you do it again, and you go back again.
Yeah.
But I never understood.
I don't. So I will say this: I got influenced because I was hanging out with an older crowd. I was very curious. Everywhere on TV, your parents, family, the only thing they tell you is don't use drugs. The more you tell me not to do something, I'm more tempted to do it. So that's exactly what happened. I started smoking. It felt good. I felt like calm. I felt relaxed, and from there, it just became a habit. I don't feel that I ever needed it to smoke weed, but I do know that it was a portal and a gateway to higher drugs. So there are certain drugs that I used that I feel that I needed to feel better, and that drug is ecstasy. So ecstasy was one of those things that completely shaped my mind to see things and be more grateful about it. And I don't really know how to explain that, because I would take it at events, at festivals, concerts, and that was some of my greatest experiences and memories. I didn't grow up with a normal childhood, but my childhood was more of living my adult life, going out to clubs and concerts and doing drugs. Now, what stopped me, so let me just say this. I started using Xanax. For what reason? The moment that I took Xanax, I felt, I guess you can call it invincible. I've always been a very quiet, isolated person. In elementary, I would always walk in and go to the back of the classroom. I didn't want to talk to anybody, because now that my mom had cancer, it's like I don't want to talk to anybody. And I feel that teachers would come to me and feeling some type of sympathy towards me and asking friends to come talk to me. And so I never liked that. I never liked anybody feeling any type of pittiness towards me. And I was always the new kid, okay? I went to 7 different schools throughout my life, and I was always the new kid. So I was the new kid. My mom had cancer, and I was a quiet and isolated kid. So I always had to force myself to make new friends. The moment that I started using drugs and Xanax, it made me feel invincible. It gave me the confidence like no other. And keep in mind, I'm a pretty small person now. So back then, I was tiny. I was probably the smallest person in school, right? And being a guy, it's like, all right, cool. You don't have too much confidence. So now, because of that, that forced me to get in a lot of fights. People would always try to come in and they would try to bully me. I've never been a person to start something, but if you start something, hey, let's go ahead and do it, man. I'm not gonna back down. Taking these pills, it just forced me to level up and like, all right, cool. It gave me a lot more confidence, which forced me to get into a lot more fights. And it just allowed me to speak up and having that confidence within myself. Now, because of that, I never had that confidence being sober, but when I was on pills, it brought it out of me. So that lasted for a few years. Until I overdosed. I got kicked out of schools, and then from there, it was like I had to stay sober for a few. That's when, like, kind of the depression hit, and I didn't know what to do with my life and everything, so that's when ecstasy kicked in. And then my life was just instantly happy and going out, talking to everybody and loving. And again, it was one of those were some really great memories and experiences because I remember them. But what really did it for me was when I turned, it was 19, I believe, I went to a festival. And I didn't stop doing drugs because they were necessarily ruining my life. I stopped doing drugs because I didn't know what was being in them anymore. The last pill that I took, or MDMA, so Molly, it was MDMA mixed with meth. And when I took that, I was in Houston, and it ended up lasting me for about 3 to 4 days. I was up, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep for 3-4 days. I couldn't eat water. I would drink a little bit and I would throw it up. And that was a scary moment. I mean, I've overdosed on some drugs, but you're not awake, right? With Xanax, I overdosed. I was out for 2 days. I just completely blanked out. I don't remember anything. But overdosing on that, meth, and ecstasy, it was a horrible feeling. I mean, you're paranoid, anxiety, no food, you're shaking, you can't get out of bed. And that's what did it for me. So it was a really bad experience on that overdose, and that's what forced me to get off of those drugs. Now, on Xanax, or all the downers, right? So I've been on uppers, I've been on the downers. On the downers, what did it for me was I did not care about anything. I was not me. I was, in the most simplest terms, I didn't give a fuck about anything. I just wanted to fight everybody. I was mad. I had so much anger towards everything and everybody. My confidence, and when I say confidence, I mean like anybody look at me, we're fighting. You bump into me, we're fighting. Like just stupid shit for no reason. And I didn't want to live in that no more. So that's when it really forced me to like get out of drugs. Now, when I got off of drugs, I did it on my own, but it was very hard to turn that addiction, like where can I put this addiction to? And that's when I started realizing like, this addiction to drugs, it's difficult because I had too much time. So that's when I got a job. When I got a job, that job became my new addiction. Like, so once I realized that power of how that I could put my focus and that energy, that addiction into something that's going to help me, then it just started building that momentum up. Eventually, I just got so caught up and focused and making money and working that I didn't have time to think about drugs. So, yeah, I mean, that was an experience.
It's very fascinating, but I can tell you when I was listening to you, you use drugs, correct me if I'm wrong, you use drugs as not only as a shield, to shield yourself, but you used it as a defense mechanism to, defend yourself against people outside, the way they were looking at you or looking down on you, or based on your your life or experiences, what you went through, and you would just keep going with it. A lot of people do that, you know. And for me, it wasn't a drug. It was, you know, it was just, you know, not really seeing the stuff that I can do. I basically not believing myself. I always put myself down. I didn't believe myself. That was my defense mechanism, and you know, and my shield. But for some people, it's a drug. Mm-hmm. But you know, and you know, as I know that we talk about that, you know, drug is really take over not only your, you know, chemical reaction is your brain, because you know it. Drugs is just mess with your brain and you think differently. And do you think that the drugs is just damaging your soul as well? As physical body, we understand that. You get shaking, everything else, but you really, I don't know. I never done that, but I'm just saying that drugs is really mess with your soul too. So now as I'm older, so again, I started drugs back in 5th grade. I was 11, so 15, I'm 27 now, so 15 years ago. There's good drugs and bad drugs. The bad drugs I stay away from now. Bad drugs are something that you don't learn anything from. So all the opioids, this opioid crisis that's going on throughout the world, it's almost pathetic. And it's getting bad. It's horrible. It's horrible, man. And seeing people go through that, it hurts, right? It hurts because I know that most people, they stay stuck on that and they're dependent on that. And I know it doesn't have to be that way, but you know, what can you really do? You can't help anybody out that doesn't want the help or doesn't see that they can get out of it. So I only help where I can. But anything such that alcohol is like I'm not a huge fan. I rarely drink, maybe once every other month, and I drink just because I can't stop thinking. I drink, I'll have like a glass or two of tequila, nothing more. Because it feels like I'm just damaging my soul, my spirit. I'm disconnecting myself. I'm disconnecting my spirit from my body. So I'm against alcohol, any drugs that really shut down your mind. So any opioids, weed. Most people say that weed isn't addicting, and it's like, dude, if you smoke every day because you think you need it, it's an addiction. And a lot of people say, I can stop it. Go ahead and stop it. Stop it for 3 months. See if you can. And that's really what led me down, right? I used to say, like, yeah, well, I mean, I could stop doing drugs. It's like, well, why don't you stop? And I was like, that's a fucking good question. Yeah. And I stopped for 2 years. I stopped it. And I felt like, damn, life is fucking boring. But the good drugs now, I used to be completely against psychedelics because everything that I heard, if you do any psychedelics or LSD in this case, your brain will start bleeding into your spine. There's a lot of people that have gotten paralyzed. So that scared the shit out of me. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not risking that one. Mushrooms, everybody talks about, or any psilocybin. They talk about if you do it, you're going to start hallucinating like really bad. And I've seen some people go completely crazy from it. And so to me, I was always against that. I was like, I'll just smoke a joint and I'm good. So I got into that. I gave it a shot. I started experimenting with that later on. And it opened up a completely different world and a different realm to me. When I took it, I didn't use it to abuse it. I used it so I can learn from it. Now, the reason that I use that is some way, somehow, I came across this book called Be Here Now, and it's by Ram Dass. In that book, it's a teacher, I believe he was teaching at Stanford or Harvard. He did everything the traditional way. He met a teacher that was super happy and super jolly, and he would always travel to South America. In South America, he started experimenting with psilocybin and peyote. He was against it, but he saw how this teacher was like so happy. And he started questioning, why is it that he's traveling out there every summer, he comes back so happy? So he gave it a shot. He tried it, and he started realizing like how much happier he started living. And he started questioning,
everything about life. So he started saying, like, why am I doing this? What's the point of coming to class every single day just to get paid $70,000 a year to feel like I'm stuck on routine? So he went to South America with that teacher, and he gave it a shot. He tried psilocybin. He started feeling happy and questioning everything about life, which then led him down the whole spiritual journey. So from there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. Like, I'm not going to abuse it. If I do these drugs, it's not to do it to feel good. Back then, it was my escape. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to feel happy. Psychedelics, I want to use it to learn something. I want to use it to help me open my mind and see something else that I'm not seeing. And that's exactly what I did. I started experimenting with psychedelics, and everything that I would live for and going to work and my friends and the persona that I started building, this whole shell of the physical body, the whole physical realm, it started pulling me away from it and really made me question life. Like, okay, what is the purpose? Like, why am I here? Why am I doing all of this if none of this really matters? And once I got a little taste of that world, that reality, in 2019, I met my master. She had just got here into Texas from Vietnam, and she had just graduated, and amazing. I've never met anybody with so much life and love and energy, just so radiant. And she was able to, for some way, somehow, I've never been a very big believer of the whole spiritual world and witchcraft and all that, those things. I never believed it. I never not believed it. It was just there. It was a thought.
It was not proven to you.
Yeah, right? Like most people say, well, if you can't prove it, then it doesn't exist. I was in the middle. It's like, I'm not going to disqualify that idea, but I don't believe it either. I'm not convinced by it. So what changed everything for me was I had just got back from an event. This is November of 2019. I had just got back from Miami, Florida, at a real estate event, real estate convention, commercial real estate. And it was one of the greatest months in real estate. Everything was going amazing. I come back into the office. She's looking for a job. Now, just kind of backstory on how she came in. We were buying her house. In that house, her mom had gotten beat by the boyfriend, tied down, and they lit the house on fire. We were buying that house.
Wow.
But she was so calm and loving, and you know, that's a crazy story to me, but she was so loving. So she told us, I want to learn real estate. The moment I walked into that office, and the only reason I was saying that I got back from Florida was I told myself, when I go to Florida, that's when I'm going to eat seafood. I've never ate seafood till this day. Until that day. And when I got back from there, I had just tried mahi-mahi.
It's pretty good.
It's fucking great. I eat seafood all the time now. But I told myself I wasn't going to try anything new until I go to that specific country, that area, so it could be fresh. I want to feel the culture and the environment. I met her, we shook hands, and she looked at me and she said, "You just had seafood, huh?" And I looked at her confused, and I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "You had mahi-mahi. How was it?" And I was like, holy shit. Okay, who is this person? And then she introduced herself. She told me, hey, I'm Tammy. I just got here from Vietnam, and, really heavy accent. So she told me, I heard you got a pyramid. So I have an orgonite pyramid, and I customized it. Pretty cool. It has a copper spiral in there with 24 karat gold around it with a diamond. I got that because when you meditate, it's able to pull energy inwards. And when you meditate with it, you can feel the energy, and it's a lot easier to kind of do some astral projection. So I showed her my pyramid, And she touched it and closed her eyes, and she was like, "This is full of energy." And she told me, "What do you know about meditations and all these things?" And I was like, "I'm getting into it." I'm like, "I don't know. I've came out of my body. I don't know what happens. I don't know what I believe. I don't know what I don't believe. Like, this is all new to me." So that led me down that whole path of like,
Spirituality.
yeah. So everything went downhill in real estate for me. I ended up parting ways with my partner. I had some money. I had some money saved up, good enough to be like, not rich, but I had some money where I was like, I could go a few months up to a year without working. So let me see what happens. And I started meeting with her pretty often, and we started doing a lot of breath work and practices. And she introduced me to a lot of new breath works and techniques. From there, she taught me about the astral projection realm. Oh man, I'm just going into a drift. I forgot what the question was, but
No, great, man, great story, great what you just told me. But I think we are capable more than we know. As we spoke before, we just use 10% of our brain power, or whatever is like that. And I believe our soul, our spiritual thing, is so powerful that really, when you really understand yourself, what you're capable of, you can do a lot of stuff. I think the biggest problem that we are facing right now in our generation or at the time is people, they do not try to spend time to get to know themselves. For example, you said through meditation, which is, I love to do that. I'm getting into it. That you start understanding your own self. And sometimes if you go deep in it, like what you just said, you can step out of your body, which is, I'm working on it. I'm reading it as you give me a couple of sources. You can actually see yourself. Mm-hmm. Like for people like you, they had a near-death experience. You can actually touch it, feel it, and just be there. But for the people they never been there, I think with the meditation, with a lot of other ways, you can really try to understand yourself. And then when you try to understand yourself, you understand your values and what you value in life.
Yeah.
And then when you understand what you value in life, then you become more clear, and then you know where you're going and what is your destiny.
Yeah. So you just reminded me what the question was. So yes, drugs, they open up another psychedelics. They opened up another portal for me of a world that I didn't know was possible. So
Which is it enhances your brain power?
Yes.
Are you serious?
It gives.
We're not suggesting use drug, guys. We're not talking about that. Okay, we're not advertising anything.
Yeah. So that's what's very interesting to me is in America, there's only 2 countries in the world that can market for drugs and opioids. We're one of them. New Zealand is the other one. But when it comes to psychedelics and drugs that help you open up your mind and get more access to your brain, it's so frowned upon. If you look at every country uses psychedelics or some type of plant. So I started questioning that. I was using it to help me open up. When I started using them, it put me in front of my master. She introduced me to ways to get higher access to more brain power and understanding other realms by being sober and by just using breathing techniques. Now, when I started using some psychedelics, I did come out of my body, which was pretty scary. If you've never left your body, it's pretty scary at first because you get to see your body there and you get to travel outside. If you can't really accept or process that, it does get scary. She taught me how to do that just through breathing techniques. It's completely scary. So you do not need those drugs or psychedelics to get to those levels, but it allowed me and opened my mind up that there is more possibilities, things we could never process or even grasp. When I started studying other cultures, and I'm really big, I love understanding everything about religions, cultures, tribes, the way their belief system, the way that they do things. Almost everybody has their own way, and they have a tradition, such as a plant or a tea, whatever they do, to help them connect with themselves, open them up, or whatever. And South America, I forgot what country it was, they get introduced to, as early as the age of 8, to psilocybin. They drink that tea to get opened up to a higher realm. And that's what opened me up and started. I don't judge things by right, good or bad, right or wrong. It's just, why is it that they do it? I make my own decisions for myself. I just need to have a full understanding of everything, right? And if they use that at the age of 8 to allow them to see a lot more, I was like, I'm interested. I want to know why. What is it that they see? What do they get introduced to? And I think once you see that there's a lot more out there, more possibilities than what we're used to, than what the naked eye can see, that's when real life starts, right?
You know, I totally agree with you, because as you said, you chose to go out there and understand not only yourself, to understand where you're coming from, what is your power, what is the relationship between your body and your soul, and how you can benefit and power yourself. If we all understand that there's other different ways beside drugs, meditation, or anything else, as I said, to just get to know yourself, man, imagine how powerful is that. Like, I have a friend, he's a monk, and he's skinny, man. He no muscle, but he's strong. Like I said, what do you do things?
Yeah.
Like he says that, my mind. I said, just explain that to me. He said, we do hours of meditation. Mm-hmm. And like he sits for like an hour, like the way he sits, I cannot sit, man. For an hour like that,
yeah.
Holy moly, I cannot do that. But he sits and he says that he actually goes somewhere, which is, I don't understand that, never done it, but he says is a different experience. Mm-hmm. And says my mind is so powerful. Basically what they do, they control their mind, which is control themselves. And he said, our body is just a medium. Mm-hmm. That's what he said. He said, my body is just a medium. My mind is running the body, which is, we all getting it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I went down the whole Buddhism route. I lost 40 pounds, man. I dropped down to 115 pounds. There's a picture up on my Instagram.
Wow.
I got really skinny, but it was during this time I realized I was starting to really get absorbed by money and real estate. Everything was going good. It was the most amount of money I've made up to that date, and I was getting so caught up with it. And when I met my master, I had to make a decision. And that decision was, do you want to continue to chase money, or do you want to go down the route with me to learn about spirituality? And this was in January. This was in January of 2020, okay? So if you remember, right before COVID.
Yep.
I didn't know what was going to happen, but to me, I was like, I'm on a perfect route right now. I've got my foot in the door. Real estate is going good. My connections are great. I have a good amount of deals. Like, I want to continue, and I want to build a few multi-million-dollar business, and then I can continue that route. So she told me, if you want to go with me, we're going to have to go 6 months into a forest, the full Buddhism journey. So I was about 1 month in already, but I was still doing real estate. She's like, you have to learn how to let go and block out all the noise and distractions, because you can't come do back and forth. So I told her, damn, I can't do it right now. Like, I'm going to continue with real estate. This is in January. March, I think it's ending of February, beginning March, COVID happened. Everything shut down. And I was like, fuck. All my money was tied into the real estate deals. Title companies closed. I was stuck. I couldn't do anything. The whole world went on pause. Everything shut down. So then I was like, you know what? Maybe that is my wake-up call. Maybe it wasn't meant to go down this way. So maybe it's forcing me to block out all the noise, all the distractions. if the whole world went on pause, which has never happened, right? I was like, maybe it's meant for me to focus on this. So during that whole during the whole shutdown, I was like, you know what? Fuck real estate. Fuck, I can't do it. I can't touch it. I can't do anything. I can't tour properties. So I decided, like, you know what? I'm gonna pursue it. I'm gonna focus on doing breath work. I'm gonna focus on doing meditations. And that is when I started losing all the weight. And I went in all the way, man. By then, when I tried to get in contact with her, she was gone. She was gone. She didn't have no source, no way of connecting with her. So I felt like I really dropped the ball on that, and I felt like it was the perfect opportunity for me to be able to access something higher. I don't know what it was. I'm not going to say I was expecting something. I never expect anything anymore. But I do feel that it was something more valuable than just money. And that's having something that you can actually provide to humanity. So that was, and so now when you're talking about the monks, that's my journey that I'm going on now. That is what I'm.
You really want to do it?
I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
Why you want to do it?
I don't think a lot of people realize how noisy our life is. So much noise, so much distractions. The only thing we really look forward to when we wake up is work and money and social media and like trying to get so much.
We are really consumed with a lot of stuff. I agree.
Yeah, so you don't really have time to focus. I'll tell you something very minimalistic for me, and running, or even go to the gym. Go to the gym, I never listen to music, ever. I stopped that in 2019. No music. When I run, I'll run 5, 10, 20 miles, no music, just me in my own head. And people are like, dude, you're a fucking psycho. And it's like, why? They're like, how do you do this without music? That's one good thing I learned from drugs. The moment you feel you need something, get off of it. Don't touch it. It's good and bad, because the moment I feel anything, and this goes back into the survival mode, feeling any little bit of happiness, something is wrong in my mind. I'm not used to it. And then I pull away from it. And something as simple as trusting somebody. There's a friendship. I can trust somebody. There's happiness. It's like, oh, no, something's wrong. I don't like it. Music, it would get me up. It would hype me up. I would listen to David Goggins, if you're familiar. Yep. And from that moment, I was like, fuck.
Actually, he's not listening to any music while he's running.
Exactly. So that's what led me down. Like, you know what? Like, motherfucker's crazy. Like, I like his way of running. I'm going to do that. So I started doing that. And then you realize, well, when you don't have music, when you don't have social media, when you don't have friends, when you don't have your family or environment, nobody's influencing you or those opinions of yours. Like, you're literally in your mind alone. I would sit in the sauna. I'll go run. I'll go sit in the sauna for 60 minutes. The sauna is 195 degrees. It's fucking brutal.
Yep.
I'll fast 48 hours, 72 hours, go sit in the sauna for an hour, just all water. Your mind starts working completely different. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. I'm not doing it because I love it. The thoughts that go in my head, and it forces me, it challenges me. Once you feel like you're on the verge of dying, like that is super uncomfortable. Different ideas and the way that you process things are completely different. Now, it's not you making a decision based off of everybody else and all the noise coming around. Now it's just you and your own thoughts. When you go through hell, when you go through the drug addiction, when you go through those near-death experience, so much betrayal, all that shit, when you're running alone for 2, 3, 4, I've ran alone for 5 hours. What's really going on in your fucking head? Not a lot of people can do that. If there's not a lot of people who can really say, well, I can sit in a room alone or be alone. They need social media.
People cannot do that.
Exactly. That is what really forced me to, okay, I left my hometown to live alone. I'm in a new town, completely brand new. I don't know anything. I don't know anyone. I just threw myself. It fucking worked out amazing. Let me go to a new country with no technology, with no modernized efficiency that we have in America. You want food, you go downstairs and you have it. What about when you go in the mountains? What about when you go live with the monks? What's their lifestyle? And the way that we have life so fucking easy now.
You know, the monks and the people that you just say, or in the forest, they have a really like a clean soul.
Yeah.
Like, I believe cleansing body, we cleanse our soul too.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You know, I really want to cleanse my soul, because the moment we detach ourselves from the stuff that you just mentioned, let it go. Like 3 years ago, I decided to not put my phone next to my bed.
Yep.
3 years ago. And I started putting it on the counter in our kitchen. I sleep so much better, and my stress level, for some reason, like, there's nothing. I sleep well. Now I cannot go back. Like last night, accidentally, I left my phone over there because I was checking the email or something. And then I woke up. It was like at 1:30 a.m. because it dang or whatever for notification. And then I went back to the kitchen. I put it on the counter. When we detach ourselves, things are changing, especially, you know, the spiritual too, the mind. When you detach yourself from all these, you know, materials and life, all that stuff, and then you become a new person, and your perspective will changes. Mm-hmm. As I told you, you know, I served in the war for 4 years, and then everybody asked me, why you're not afraid of death? I said, because when you go to that, and every second, every moment, you think that bullet is going to hit you and you're going to die.
Yeah.
And you get used to that mentality. Yeah. And then when you come out of it and say, what's wrong with these people? Why are you so worried about having this, having that? Or why are you not enjoying the life? That's what, when you said that, this is spirituality and getting to know yourself from different perspective, it really, really help us to understand things better. Like you and I, we had this talk off the camera a couple of days ago, and you got me thinking that, really, what is the value of a relationship? What is the value of getting to know people? What is the value of your existence?
Yeah.
If we understand the value of our existence, don't you agree that our life is going to be better?
Yeah. I think most people, and I speak from people in their 20s, right, relatively my age. I can only speak for most people in my hometown, and let's just say America. Everything is so easy for us, so much convenience. Everything is at our fucking hands. Like just having
easy access or easy to get.
Yeah, I mean, just having your phone. It's so much power in this phone that you don't think about life in any other way. I think life has been and has got way too easy, which is why most people are getting fat, depressed, and lazy, because you don't have no challenges coming at you. I challenge myself on purpose just because, and they're baby challenges. Like, as much as I study other tribes and other cultures, like, that's brutal work. Us, like, everything is so easy. If you want some food, go downstairs or go to your car, drive a mile away, and there's a store. Just grab what you want and then take it. Or, I mean, even the convenience of having it on your phone. I'm hungry, let me order whatever you want, have it delivered right to your door. So, to me, I want to challenge myself in that sense. I think once you lose everything, I've never lost everything to that extent, but I'm going to force myself. I'm going to go to another country where it's not that easy. I'm going to go live in the mountains with the monks and say, okay, you really think you're a bad motherfucker? Let's see if you can really do it, right? Now you got to go hunt for your food. I don't know if I can do it. I think I'm mentally strong enough because I know what death feels like. I'm not afraid to die. I've died. I'm gonna say it like that. Like, I've came out of my body from overdose. I've been robbed at gunpoint. I've been shot at. Like, those things are just fucking stupid. So now living in the jungle, having to hunt for your own food, what is that life like? I want to be able to experience that, to feel like the true human potential. So,
and the relationship you build with the tribe.
Yeah, that's what I'm most interested about. I'm very interested in learning, living life through other perspectives. That's what I think I love living for. So doing real estate, being in business, it's not who I am. It's not my identity. I'm doing it for money, of course, to keep me good. But what I really thrive in and find real passion is humanity, being able to understand that not everybody lives like you. The way that we're born and raised in America is not how anybody else lives life, right? There's this guy that I love to watch and follow. He left everything here in America. He left everything to go live in the Amazon jungle in Peru. And most of these people like showcase how these tribes live, how they drink. Like to drink water, you got to walk 2-3 miles out to a river. You got to find the water, drink it like that. Food, you got to kill the animal and skin it and all that. And it's like, it's part of human nature. And people, every time he posts something, people get so offended. And I mean, it's insane. How can you be so close-minded about that? Most people think like, no, that's animal cruelty. Do you know what it's like to live in that country and to have to live in survival? And I think that's the biggest problem I see that's going on in the world now is people are so close-minded and they're not willing to understand different perspectives. Instead, they're making decisions with their emotions, which I think it's horrible, right? It's horrible to not try to understand any other nation and think the whole world is exactly as convenient as you had it. So, again, I can only speak from watching videos on YouTube. So I want to have the full-on experience.
Based on, my experience, because I came from a different part of the world, and I came here, I can tell you that what is wrong in this country. Honestly,
what would you say? I want to see from
your perspective. I'm telling you, this is my perspective. What is wrong in this country? That I totally agree with you. Easy access to things, which is the government creates that environment. That okay, shut the hell up. You need this. I'm gonna give it to you. Let me do my things. Let me run the country. Which is, I am not suggesting everybody is gonna run the country, but like. You don't have things sometimes, and that's the fact in life. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of stuff during the war, during the revolution in Iran, like staying in line for the 2 hours for the block of cheese or couple of breads, and you get used to it, and then you understand the value of life and what God has given you. The second thing is we don't value ourselves here as a human, because we are selfish. Here, I see a lot of selfish people that everything is about them. They think the world revolves around them. It's not like that, and they think they own it. They think that we should give it to them. It's not like that. You have to earn it. Like relationships, you have to earn that trust. You have to build the relationships, and then the third thing is they're not valuing relationships either. They're not valuing the other people's, life or relationships. That's what we're not getting anywhere, because it doesn't matter. You are red, blue, independent, whatever. You're Christian, you're Muslim, whatever, whoever you are. We are going toward one goal: make this country a better country. And if you look at it as a whole world, make this planet is a better planet. When we all help one another and value our relationships. That's what I'm thinking is wrong with this country, and I stand behind it. When you get to know people, even the ordinary people, you can learn so much. But we don't want to go through that because what? Because it's not easy.
Yeah.
And we put so much labor on it. I'm an introvert. I don't want to talk to people. I have my own problems. Okay, maybe somebody else has a problem as you have, but if you talk to those people, maybe they overcome that problem that you are facing, and they can help you out too. Well, we are close-minded.
Yeah, I think I want to touch in on that subject. When, like, religion and beliefs, a lot of people, I know this is going to get a lot of hate, when it comes to understanding gods, I grew up with my family. They believed in God. They would take us to church in Mexico. When we would go, they would take us to church. But I've never seen a very genuine church where they care. Now, this is the thing about religion that made me question everything, that led me down Buddhism. Buddhism is one of the only, it's a philosophy, it's not a religion, that I connected and aligned with the most. When you're born, right, we are labeled as, this is your religion. This is your ethnicity. You are Mexican. You are this, you are that. Now, as I'm older, it's like...
We are human.
We're fucking human. We're not... You don't have to identify yourself as this specific thing, right? As that specific religion. It made me question everything. Once again, when I died, I saw a God. And I didn't know what it was, right? I didn't know what to label it at. I saw this giant. I was like an ant. I was on the foot of it, and it was looking down at me. And it was an Egyptian god, okay? At the time, I didn't know what it was. It was a human body with it was Ra, right? The god of the sun. With the head of a bird. I was confused. I was conscious. I knew what was going on. I didn't know where I was at the moment. When I snapped out of it, I came back and I was like, what the fuck just happened? And I went on Google and I looked up like tall person with bird head. And I started seeing and I started understanding it was Egyptian gods. That's what led me down the whole path of Egyptian gods. So that opened up a whole nother portal. Then again, when I meditated with my master, I ran into him again. And I was like, or I ran into it. I don't know what to call it. My mom, when she died, my mom died for 10 minutes. They kicked everybody out of the room. The room got filled with people bringing her flowers. The doctors were completely confused of what was going on. There was a lot of air. Her hair was like blowing softly, not like crazy, right? No idea. They have no idea what happened. When I talked to my mom, she says that she got pushed off an edge and she landed on white, fluffy wings or feathers. And she was confused, but all she could see was the back of something. It was really big, but that they were holding her and they told her it's not your time yet, and that they pushed her back into her body. Ever since then, angels have become a really big thing. And in our family, we believe in a God. They believe in Jesus Christ. I'm not saying I don't believe in it. I'm not saying I believe in it. But the way that people worship and live their whole life for this one thing, it just makes me question everything, right? I don't know who created and who put that whole image in there. But for me, it's like I died, I experienced that one God. There's a lot of gods, so what makes that one God the God, right? And that is when I started questioning everything about religion and who we are, and then everything just came back down to humanity. Like we are just a speck of dust. We can die. Once you leave this physical realm or this earth, there's so many other gateways to enter other realms.
Absolutely.
And I think the moment people start questioning their existence and this physical realm, this reality, I think that's when more things will start appearing into your life.
I totally agree with you, because us living in this world is not the definition of a human existence.
Right.
I really do not believe that. I totally agree with you. We are a source of energy, and then we will travel. And, it doesn't matter what God you're praying to, but there's a higher power out there that I cannot explain it.
Correct.
Never saw it, but I know there's a higher power out there. I tell you the story. I from the Iran, after, I finished my service, I went to Germany because I had a severe PTSD and overcome that. And my doctor said, you got to leave the country because of all this environment and everything else. My sister was living in Germany, in Hamburg, and she told me, come here. And I went over there. And one day I was walking down the street. I couldn't speak German or nothing, a little bit broken English, broken a little bit German. But I saw this church, big church, very traditional, like imagine like this handmade wooden big heavy doors that you walk in, you smell the benches, you smell the Bible, you smell you could smell everything in there, like an old church, Catholic church.
Yeah.
It was a Catholic church. And then I went over there, it was nobody there. And I was looking at it, and the guy walked to, and I know that now he was the priest. And then he walked toward me and he asked me, what's your name? And I said, my name. He said, what are you doing here? Can I help you? I said, I don't know, I'm just here to pray. And he said, are you Catholic? With broken English German, I said, no, I'm not. I was raised and born a Muslim. And he said, very interesting thing. He said, here is a house of God. Jesus, it was a messenger of the God. I don't know who was your messenger relationship, which is Muhammad. And pray to whatever you believe, and the God will hear you. But the first thing is to believe in yourself and believe that you are more than what you are thinking. And whatever goes in your mind, and and when I'm thinking right now, he was right. It doesn't matter what God you pray to, but when you believe the higher power, have the energy, all that stuff, your life is start changing when you get to know yourself.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to do, to go to Peru, to the Amazon jungle, to actually be honest with you, to find yourself again. I will do that in the heartbeat. You go and tell me how you went, and I go in there. Because, you kind of take that jacket off and you will be naked, not physically, your soul will be naked. And he says, okay, tell me, who am I?
Right.
And then you don't have anything. You don't have your Tesla. You don't have your car. You don't have your phone. You have nothing. And then you are like it's you. And then when you get to that level and you understand yourself, and then you come back and your perspective to life is changing. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. We have this conversation, and I promise you, some people, they're going to listen and watch this. Their perspective to life is going to change. And say, maybe these two guys are right. I got to really spend time to get to know myself spiritually. Or who am I? Ask yourself, who are you? Who am I? When you figure that out and you're honest and transparent with yourself, and you know what you want from this life, and actually bring yourself to the human level, like human, and then value all the relationship, like I value my relationship with you, I am learning, I'm growing, that's changed your life.
Yeah. Once you start asking yourself certain things, the universe will give you those answers, but you just have to be very open-minded. A lot of the times when we ask for something, it could be a career change, it could be for a better relationship, a spouse, whatever it is, you're going to get it in a way you never expected to happen. And with that, it might come with a loss of whatever you have. That is why one of the strongest messages and things that I live by is that Buddhism practice. Don't have any attachment to anything. Now, I took this too hard. I did become very extreme with it, but there's no emotional attachment to anything, literally nothing. And now I challenge myself. Back then when I was in the car business, once you start making money, obviously everything that you see is designer stuff. I want to buy all these things. I bought myself whatever. I mean, the most expensive, which was really stupid, that might not be a lot, but $900 loafers, right? Louis Vuitton. I started buying myself all the designer stuff that I wanted, that I once wanted when I was a kid, and it felt good. I felt full of confidence and pride, and I was like, hell yeah, like I'm making money now, right? I was only making about $10,000, $15,000 a month in the car business, but I was 20, 21, so
that was pretty good.
It was good at that time, coming from working at a warehouse, making $3,500 a month. And that was one of my first tests, ego test. if you really want to practice and you think you can strip yourself away from everything, sell everything. Everything you think you want and you love, get rid of it. And it was difficult because I was once excited for it. But it was like, what difference does it? It makes no difference in my life. It makes you feel good about yourself for a few minutes, but that's about it, right? And there's so many people, again, in America, we're just so sold on the idea of trying to win everybody over and trying to
Perception.
trying to perceive yourself as something that you're not, which I think that's something that I was doing back then. I wanted people, because I was always neglected and pushed down, belittled. I always wanted to feel accepted. I never felt like I fit in, and that is where drugs helped me gain that bit of confidence. And then once you added money into that, it turned me into a whole nother person. Right now, I felt like, hell yeah, now I can fit in. Nobody can reject me. And my confidence was through the roof. So if you didn't like me, fuck you. I'll go to the next person. And it was good for a minute. It fed my ego, and that ego did lead me to jumping into real estate and landing some great deals. But up until what point do you start feeling disconnected? Up until what point, there's one thing that I tell people. It's something to be around people and being perceived at this level and being put on a pedestal. But who is that person and what's running through your mind, through your thoughts when you're laying in that bed alone? You wake up in the middle of that night, 2, 3 a.m., and all these thoughts are going through your mind. When you lose everything, when you get stripped from everything, what is going through your mind? And that level is called point zero. Point zero is being able to take off that layer, that coat of all the pride, all the ego, all the bad experiences, the PTSD, the good experiences, the sad, the bad, the anxiety, like all of those things that you think you're carrying with you, which in my case, when I overdosed, I ended up getting anxiety. Horrible, just panic attacks, anxiety in the middle of my sleep. And I think that was caused from, I would take a lot of ecstasy, and then I would take Xanax to go to sleep and then wake back up, and then I would take some pills, some uppers to get back up. So I would get a lot of anxiety attacks during my sleep. When you're alone in these thoughts, in that room of darkness, and you take off that coat, who are you, right? What's really going through your mind, and what is it that you're really trying to get to? Because you're not thinking, when you're at that level, when you die, you're not thinking about the next designer shit or the next car, the next job, the next money. You're not thinking about any of that. And that was what started challenging my mind to, you have to really try to live happy. And that's one of the hardest things that I meet a lot of people, and including myself, being stuck in that survival mode. Any little bit of happiness that you start feeling, it starts feeling weird. You start like, oh, fuck, what's going on? Why am I feeling so happy?
Because you think you first of all, you think that you don't deserve it.
Exactly.
And the second you say, oh, I never had this, I don't deserve it, Because to add to what you just said, we are attached, as I said again, we are attached to a lot of stuff. And then when you let it go, your life changes. People don't understand that we all in the bus. You, me, X, Y, Z people. This bus is going to have so many stations it's going to stop. For you, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, station number 13, 14,000. It doesn't matter. You get off that bus one day. That's what people don't understand. You get off that bus one day. While you're in the bus, enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Do not, because people, the United States, this is what they do. They work to live. They go to work to live.
Yeah.
They do not live to work.
Yeah.
You got to live to work. You got to enjoy it. You got to help other people. You got to be a giver. Then you'll be okay. But we all get it wrong.
Yeah, including myself. And that is the phase that I've experienced as well. Up until probably the beginning of this year, was exactly that. It's like, shit, you know what? I'm going to leave everything behind, and I'm going to focus. I'm going to move to Austin, and I'm just going to enjoy life. And I went right back down that same rabbit hole, right? How do you balance? My biggest challenge has been, how do you balance out a happy life, something that you actually enjoy, while trying to make as much money as possible, right? In real estate, it's such a very fast-paced environment.
You know what is the answer? To do what you love.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, I know you say you love, real estate, but a lot of people, they chase something for the shine.
Yep.
They chase something for the tangible things. It's good. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
You can do it. But at the end of the day, if you're really not happy for what you do, you're going to be tired of it.
Yeah.
And you're going to say, oh, no, I don't know. And the worst thing in life is regret. I don't want to die. And then next to my bed is the angel is staying. He said, you ready? I said, yeah, but I have regrets. Regrets of the stuff that I love to do, going to Amazon, doing this, doing that, being a monk, or not being a monk, just enjoy, just understand yourself. The simple things.
Yeah.
We all attract by these shiny objects and everything, which is good. Money, you said, bring happiness.
Yep.
I believe money brings comfort.
Yep.
Money is a tool that you can buy things and be more comfortable.
It's transactional.
It's a transaction. Money does not make you happy. I have so many friends that they have money. They can buy anything they want. He calls me and says, why are you always happy? I said, yeah. And he knows that I'm not rich like him. I said, I'm happy because you don't know. I might fucking die tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the problem with that guy is he thinks that his 2 Porsches in the garage and everything is going to take it with himself. And he's so tight, he doesn't help needy people. That's what I'm saying. People don't understand that. If we understand that, man, this world will be a better world. We all imagine the world that everybody is helping each other, everybody understanding themselves, and they're trying to go the extra mile to help a person that in need.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I think from that, to understand that perspective or that life, you have to experience what it feels like to lose everything.
Oh, yeah.
From losing everything, moving to Austin, I will say this, I'm very grateful that I learned very fast. And I don't need too much to be able to experience and understand things like other people. What I mean by that is I always thought the more money I have, the more I have, it might bring me a lot more happiness. Let me try it out. Moving to Austin, I got 4 cars. I got 5 apartments. I got high rises. And it was cool. I got to jump from one to another. I want to have a different environment.
You experienced it.
Yeah, it was cool. It was badass. Cool. I have a lot of things. I got different cars. What car do I want to pick out? But then it was like, fuck. It's not as fun as I thought. I still got to wake up and do the same shit.
Here you go.
And you become a slave to whatever it is you're trying to keep pursuing. Now, I'm not saying having a lot of cars isn't fun, but it's not what I wanted. I thought I wanted it. I got it. I was like, all right, cool. Now what? And I always keep getting I think the things that's going to bring me the best and that has brought me the best joy in life is not knowing what's about to happen and living life 1,000%, just thinking like you're going to die. I'm not saying I think I'm going to die and I'm suicidal, but when I made that jump from my hometown, born and raised, and just saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to go to this new town.
What is the worst case scenario?
Exactly. My worst case scenario is like, I'll start from scratch.
That's what I always tell. Yeah, that's what I always tell everybody that took away everything from me. I would have started back up again. I went bankrupt. I faced death, divorce, name it, not dollar in my name, and then I made money, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it goes back to us, how we perceive life.
Yep.
But, I really enjoy our conversation. We can go on. I know you're busy, but, man, at the end of the day, what we talk is so important. I hope you as a listener or who's watching this understand the power of yourself and the value that you create through your relationships and valuing your relationships and understanding yourself. And by understanding yourself, that will help you to understand other people. And as I always say this, give with what you have and help others, because at the end of the day, you're helping yourself. Do you agree that?
Yeah.
That's why you are here. You helped me with a lot of stuff. You opened my mind to a lot of stuff that since last week I'm keep thinking it, and I don't know. I'm gonna curse you or I'm gonna tell you thank you, but that's good.
That's really my whole, what I really want to do in life now is be able to help humanity out by being able to raise their awareness and consciousness to everything about humanity and what's going on in the world. So I think that's my next journey.
And I know you're
Being
gonna
able
do
to
it.
showcase that.
And we're gonna sit down and talk again when you come back from your journey.
After ayahuasca.
After
I'ma do
ayahuasca. And
yeah.
that's the podcast you guys are gonna listen to, because that will take you to the next level, because the guy is gonna come back with a new perspective or something that you find out that we can share with other people. But Carlos, again, thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate for your time today and wish you the best. And I'm so happy that we met and we can talk about fun stuff.
Yeah,
great
likewise,
things,
man.
man.
Likewise.
Thank you so much, buddy.
Cool.